People, we're back again. 12th man in the house. I've got one of my favourite gooners with me. It's Mr. Curtis Shaw from Curtis Shaw TV. Link in the title. People, we're going to talk Arsenal. We're going to talk transfers. We're going to get a little bit of a catch up of what has been a mad 24 to 48 hours or so for Arsenal fans in particular because of our rivalry with a certain club. And to be fair, the other club that lost to him. We're going to talk about that and get Curtis's feelings. We're also going to go into some of the rumours and suggestions about the world of Arsenal. So make sure you lock in, hit the like button, make sure you hit subscribe, and make sure you're following Curtis Shaw TV as well. Curtis, how you been in the last 24 to 48 hours, my bro?
We're all trying to find a way of coping, aren't we? Do you know what? I went to an event last night with troops. Roberto Carlos was hosting an event at Ballers, so we went there, played in this event. It was Carefree Lewis, me, Monts, Roms, Troops, and Matisse, and a couple other guys.
Nice.
So we get to the semi-final. We're in the semi-final, and we play against this team, and they've got Dwight Gale up front, who obviously played for Palace. They've got Kazim Richards on the left, who played like for Turkey in the World Cup. They've got Kieran Clark at centre-back, who plays for Stoke, who used to play for Newcastle. And they had another guy in centre mid who I think plays for Plymouth. And we've got Matisse and Flawless at centre-back. I'm like, oh, and we've got no goalkeeper. And we had to borrow someone to go in goal who had no goalkeeper gloves.
Oh, man.
So we ended up losing 6-0 in the semi-final. Yeah, wasn't great. It would have been great.
At least you got to the semis, bro. At least you got to the semis.
Yeah, but it was a good event. Met Roberto Carlos, and my son was there as well. Troop's son was there. They met Roberto Carlos and that. So it was a good event. And yeah, as you can imagine, there's a few Tottenham fans there, and they're coming up to me and Arteta, Arsenal, blah blah blah. I was like, and it's going to be worse today. The parade's today, so it's going to be all over the TV screens tonight as well. I think it's at 5:30. There was a rumor that they were going to drive past the Emirates as part of the parade. I saw that online, but I'm not sure how true that is. But yeah, it's been a few.
Bleak, bro. It's bleak, bro.
It is.
It's mad. Like, what are you saying? Because I see a mixed reaction. I see those sections of the fan base that are saying, who cares, it's Spurs, grow up, let's get on with it. I see another section of the fans that are like, it affects me, but maybe it'll wake a few Arsenal fans up, which is where I'm at. And then there's in the middle, which is like a bit, don't know what to say, don't know what not to say. And then there seems to be a section that are like, I don't care, like, it doesn't bother me, let's look at ourselves and not worry about Tottenham. And I'm like, it doesn't bother me. And I'm like, you're lying to yourself. You must be lying to yourself if this does not bother you. You can't be Arsenal if this does not bother you in some inkling or some sort of thing, because I don't really understand the whole lose your head things. And this is on Mikel Arteta because Tottenham won a Europa League. As much as I do understand why people are kind of getting frustrated with him, I do hope that it wakes up some of the fan base to say, look, it does not take processes. It does not take phases. You can win within the first 1 or 2 years. Ange said he was going to win in his second year. He's got a trophy. Oliver Glasner, trophy. Eddie Howe, trophy. You can go back to previous seasons when Ten Hag's won a trophy. Antonio Conte walked in his first year at Chelsea, picked him up from 10th and won him the league. This is not how it works. No other club has these phases and processes. And I've been trying to bang that drum for what feels like forever, but everybody just seems to not be getting it. No, it does. Look at Klopp. Completely different scenario, completely different manager, and a different level of experience. Had already become a winner walking into a team. And I don't understand the comparisons. One, because he was a better manager, but two, because the whole process didn't work like this. Liverpool didn't win nothing for 5 years and then all of a sudden win the Champions League. They were picking up trophies. They were getting to finals. They were qualifying for the Champions League within their first season, not their third. Like, I just don't understand how people can look at the comparisons, Curtis, and look at Oliver Glasner lifting a trophy for the first time ever with Palace. Eddie Howe lifting a trophy for the first time in 70 years and going, yeah, no, I'm cool with this. Ange Postecoglou now add to that list. And do you know what? Probably on Wednesday, you're probably going to find that Maresca's going to do it as well in his first year. So add to that Arnie Slot walking in and saying, yeah, how hard's this? I've done it in my first year. I don't think this is a good look for Arsenal, bruv. I really don't.
Can I just say a couple of things about that, Dan? And I won't go on too long. Me, obviously, I've been an Arsenal fan since I was a kid, but growing up in the Midlands, I'm obviously born and raised in Nottingham. when I was younger, the Tottenham thing, I didn't feel it as much, and it might be because I'm not from around the London area. I was totally ingrained in Man United in terms of the rivalry. United were the ops to me all the time. Wenger, Ferguson, Henri Van Nistelrooy, that Keane Vieira, that whole thing. And I always looked at Tottenham like, well, they're from North London, but they're rubbish. Like, I didn't really care about them. And I kind of feel like since I've moved down south and I'm in the area, and obviously they're not on our level, but they've been finishing in and around us. And there was a spell under Poch, they were finishing ahead of us, and they got to the Champions League final and things like that. I have felt the rivalry a lot more since living down here. And I remember going to the game at Wembley when Aubameyang missed that penalty. I came outside and all the fans were fighting and throwing bottles at each other. I said, "Raw, this is a real rivalry. Like, I never really saw this living in the Midlands." Do you know what I mean? So them winning a trophy, yeah, I felt sick, bro. I'll be honest. I did the watch along, seeing Son lift a trophy. What made it worse is like it's a trophy that we had 5 seasons in and couldn't win it. You know what I mean? Wenger had 1 season, lost it. Emery lost it, and Arteta had 3 seasons. And we lost to teams like Villarreal, Olympiacos, who aren't world beaters. So it's not like it was only top teams that knocked us out. I think what is more frustrating is Arsenal than the Tottenham situation. If we'd handled business and won a big trophy this year and they won the Europa League, it would still annoy me, but I'd be like, don't worry about them. That's a little
At least we
trophy.
could little bro them. We could little
At least
bro
we
them.
can little bro them. Oh, yeah, you won the Europa, but guess what? We're in
We
the
got the champ.
Champions League final.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've just won the champs. I don't care about that. But the fact we haven't won anything for the 5th season in a row, and they're going to lift the Europa League, and they're going to play in the Super Cup final, that's what bothers me so much. And like you said, Arsenal have created this thought process that to be successful takes a long time, when it doesn't. If your recruitment is good, if your manager is good, if the tactics are right, if the system's right, you can win trophies quickly. You know, Antonio Conte tonight, if Napoli win, they're champions of Italy after selling their 2 best players in Kvaratskhelia and Osimhen. 1 season. Gilmour, Billing, Lukaku, McTominay. We wouldn't probably want any of those players at Arsenal. They're going to lift the title above Inter in a Champions League final. 1 season. Most people said Conte was washed after Tottenham. What I want to happen from this whole situation, and this is what needs to happen, Arsenal need to wake up. That's what needs to happen more than anything else. I'll be honest, and it might be copium. Over the last day or so, my way of dealing with it is, number 1, let's laugh at Man United. And number 2, let's focus on ourselves. That's what we have to do. Tottenham winning, Tottenham lifting the trophy, it hurts, but do I think Tottenham are going to win the league next year? No. Are they going to win the Champions League? No, they're not. They'll be a better team. They'll sign better players, but I don't think they're going to win anything significant. But they're going to have their moment now, and it hurts to watch. We have got to wake up now. We have got to sit there and say, listen, we're a bigger club than them, bigger fan base, more money, bigger history. Certainly in domestically, they've actually got a bigger European history, which is crazy. We've now got to go and win trophies. Stop all this foolish talk. I feel like the media are even turning now and saying, you know, I'm hearing Gary Neville say, they got to win a trophy next year. Carragher, they got to win a trophy. I think everybody can see it. So the biggest positive that has to come out of this negative situation is Arsenal have to wake up. I said it the other day. You cannot walk around with all this chest saying we're the Arsenal. We're the Arsenal. We're this institution of English football. We've got this great history. We've arguably got the greatest player in Premier League history. Massive fan base. Arsene Wenger, Invincibles. We're one of the biggest forces to come out of this country. But when it's time to act like a big club, we start feeling sorry for ourselves. You know, we can't win trophies. You know, we're not ready. We need more time. We need more players. We need more process. We need more merch. It doesn't need any of that. You need to sign the right players this summer. You need the right tactics, and you will probably be successful. It's not rocket science. So the gimmick needs to stop. Arsenal need to tear down all this protective shield and just say, are you good enough to win trophies, Arteta? And if you're not, you need to move on. It's as simple as that. It doesn't matter if you're the biggest fan of Arteta in the world or you're the biggest anti-Arteta fan in the world. He's going to get this season. We all know he is. He's got to handle business. You've got an elite sporting director there now as well. So you need to start listening to him and understand that you're a novice of a manager. And this guy has won a title in one of the most difficult leagues when you're outside of Real Madrid and Barcelona. This guy's won the title at Atletico and got to the Champions League final. So it's now or never for Arsenal. This season, I feel like it's crunch time. The same stuff that we were rejecting under Arsene Wenger competing, fans are now celebrating under Mikel Arteta. That doesn't make sense to me. We protested because of top four. Now we're celebrating top four. So we've got to figure out whether we're a big club or not. And if we are a big club, then there has to be standards and accountability. And I think he's had long enough. Tonight is not going to be nice if you live in North London or you've got Sky TV. I'd stay off Sky Sports News because you're going to see a few 100,000 Tottenham fans in the streets and head into a Super Cup. But we got to handle business now. Take that disappointment. He keeps talking about this feeling in my tummy in every press conference. Bro, yeah, we feel sick watching Son lift the European trophy. So it's now or never.
Feeling in my belly. Go and take a Rennie then, bruv. Like,
you know what I mean? He's constipated.
This guy, this guy is winding me the hell up now, Curtis, with all of his crap in post-match interviews and press conferences I'm hearing. And when you talk about managers and people keep shouting out the obvious, whether it's Robbie or whether it's anybody else who's really positive about what we're doing. Oh, who are we going to get? Who are we going to get? That's all I keep hearing. Who are we going to get? Any of the managers that I mentioned are all laughed at. But what is hilarious is they're all about to win something. yeah. So when you look at Carlo Ancelotti, Hansi Flick, Simone Inzaghi, what's his name? I completely forgot his name now. Antonio Conte, thank you. Serie A. The only one who hasn't is Diego Simeone, who I still would take, by the way, because he's been a serial winner for the past decade, right? He's the only one who hasn't won something in the last couple of years, which is under pressure. All the others are serial winners. So when you say, I don't really want one of those managers, why? Because they are winners. They are winners. Literally in 2 years, Conte, every single time he goes in, he wins something in that 2 years. He might leave. That doesn't bother me. Come and win me a Champions League and a Prem and then leave if you want. I don't care. It really doesn't bother me. Had that, when people say to me, we want someone to be at Arsenal like Wenger for 20 years. One, those days are gone. And two, I don't particularly want a manager to be at the club if he's underachieving. I'm not going to say to Mikel Arteta, you've got 10 years, whatever, bruv. No, it shouldn't be like that. There's no other European elite club that's gone this long and has still kept their manager. There's not one. 100%. I don't know that there is. There's only Gasperini at Atalanta, Pellegrini at Betis. I think it's Ancelotti and Pep are the only ones in the similar sort of mold to Arteta that have been there that long. And the majority of them have either won stuff previously or won stuff with that club. And that's why they're there. Even Gasperini can say he's won at Atalanta now because he won the Europa League. So I look now and think you are literally the only manager you're the luckiest manager alive. To be honest, there's no doubt about that for me. When he's coming out in press conferences and he's saying stuff post-match interview or in press conferences like over my dead body, when he starts blasting out, you'll never walk alone on the speakers only to go and get pammed 4-0. When you're buying a dog to take for a walk past the camera when Gary Cottrell's on Sky Sports, all of that stuff doesn't interest me at all. When you're coming out in press conferences saying Liverpool are lucky because they didn't amount to the same points as us, you're just embarrassing yourself. And when you start to say that we're the best team in a competition we've just been dumped out of, you make yourself look like a little bit of a numbskull, in my opinion. So I don't feel like anything that he's doing at the moment is coming across well with. I feel like he's arrogant. I feel like he's rude. And I'm calm with arrogant people because most of the most successful sportsmen in life have got an air of arrogance about them because they deserve it. This guy has got no right to be arrogant. This guy is still learning his trade. This guy has had 5 years in the actual job himself. And I'm not saying he's been a shambles. He's definitely done some good things at Arsenal. He's got us challenging again. But one thing you said that I think is spot on that I don't think is spoken about enough is in the last 5 years of Wenger, everybody was fighting each other. Everybody was screaming at each other. Banners were coming out. Fights were on content creators, YouTubers all across the globe, because what we had done in that 5 years was not acceptable. Well, I'll tell you what we did in that 5 years. We got to a Europa League final. Okay, we lost and finished 1 point off top four. We got to a League Cup final. We got to a Europa League semi-final and won 3 FA Cups. So all of a sudden, we are seen as that as being disgraceful. But 5 years, just half challenging, we don't need to protest now. We're just happy. But why are we happy with that? Because I would argue this 5 years has been worse than the previous 5 years, because at least we were doing that a few times. And I find that bizarre. I don't know how you can walk down a road, down Hornsey Road, saying Wenger out, and then have the 5 years we've had, which have been better atmosphere-wise and sorted the place out, as people like to say. It's good around the place now. The culture's fixed. We've got a song now. We've got a dog now. Are these trophies? We beat Real Madrid 5-1 and we beat Man City 5-1. Well, hang on a minute. I've seen us beat teams before. Like, over the years, I see us beat Madrid when we were in 2006 at Highbury. Like, let's not make out like we are now in this position and that's a trophy. So there's so much I see that I'm really questioning about, are these the same fans? Have we got a new fan base now? And I don't understand, some of the fans have changed since those days. But when I look at it, I'm thinking, how can you have one section of fans that are so venomous and hate towards a guy who, let's be real, had more than enough credit in the bank? But this guy who's got 0 credit in the bank, we're letting him just build his CV at the club. And I truly believe, to end on this, there are a section of the fans that are Arteta FC, bruv. It must be. There is a definite section of the fans that he is the most protected man. And this is why the word cult comes along. Is there a cult at Arsenal? We did a section on it the other night and it blew up. It went mental on the channel, right? Because I do believe there's serious questions about, are you part of Arsenal or are you Arteta? That's where I'm at. And with you, if he doesn't win this season, he's got to go. And last night, I was called out for saying that I'm normally called out for being particularly negative, right, about Arsenal. I would say I was extremely positive last night with this following statement. I want him, the bare minimum expectation is to win a trophy, don't care what it is, and challenge for the league. So you win the Premier League. If it's not the Premier League, you challenge for that to the end and you win another trophy, whether it's Champions League, and I'll take one of the domestic ones. That's the bare minimum expectation. Doesn't mean that's what I want the bare minimum of, but that's the bare minimum expectation I've got for Arteta. Otherwise, he's got to go. I'm not saying to him, go win the Premier League, go win the Champions League, or you got to get out. And do you know what? Some people are. And I'm the one who's been called negative. So for me, I'm giving him more than enough chance here next season to say, go get your players, work with Andrea Berta, win us a trophy, and compete at the bare minimum for the league. And I think that's fair, bruv. I've got to be honest. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Do you know what, Dan? I mean, you said there about the same people that were Wenger out are now Arteta in, and the circumstances. It's not fashionable. Like, it was fashionable to say Wenger out. And I'm not saying these people weren't Wenger out. What I'm saying was, your profile was going through the roof. If you were making content and you were saying Wenger out, your numbers were flying through the roof. Now, it's easier to say Arteta in and be part of the get-along gang, right? You've seen it. You'll get invited to the events. Arteta will walk out. You might get the shirt a week early. You might get on the All or Nothing documentary. You'll get those perks. When you call out your club, you ain't getting perks. You ain't getting invited to any events, no shirts, no nothing. We're the outsiders. We're the minority still, by the way. We're the ones that I put tweets of, you, this, that, the other. They're still angry. And there's a few people, I agree with that. But there's a lot of people go, what? What are you talking about? He's brought us back. Look where we were when he took over. He sorted the mess out, blah, blah, blah. Well, he's being paid £15 million a season to sort that mess out. Do you know what I mean? He's the third highest paid manager in the world. So if you're the third highest paid, I would expect you to be one of the best managers in the world. I wouldn't even put him in the top 10 or 15 managers in the world. To be honest, we've won FA Cup. How could he say he's better than most of the managers in world football? He can't. We've won FA Cup. You haven't achieved enough. So then you've got people like Ian Wright. Ian Wright, for me, is one of the reasons I support Arsenal, right? Loved him as a player growing up. Yeah. Massive player that I looked up to. He's sitting on the overlap, right? And Jamie Carragher says, right, surely if he doesn't, if he's not first or second by Christmas, Surely they got to move him on. And he's going, what? Arteta? Are you talking about a different Arteta or Mikel Arteta? He's going, what do you mean? I'm talking about Mikel Arteta. He's going, no chance, no chance. And I'm sitting there going, but righty, you played for George Graham. You played for Arsene Wenger. You've lifted league titles with this club and seen Arsenal at their best. And you're a boyhood Arsenal fan. And you're basically saying, oh, no, we can't even think about moving Arteta on. So to me, once people start having that mentality, it's like you're putting the manager ahead of the club, but you support the club. You're an Arsenal fan. You're not an Arteta fan. Yeah, we all want Arteta to do well while he's the manager. Because if Arteta does well, the club does well, we're all happy. Beautiful. That's all we want. We want to be sitting here now going, yo, Champions League final on the 31st, biggest game we've had since 2006. This could change the whole. Can you imagine doing the content now, what we would be doing, Dan, today, if we're in the Champions League final next week? Instead, we're sitting here leaning in our hand going, yeah, Tottenham have got a parade tonight, mate. We've got Southampton away. The game's not on TV. We've got nothing to play for. Saliba's done his hammy. Timber's had an operation, been playing on a mashed up ankle for weeks. And now Ornstein's saying in a Q&A last night, yeah, the club still look like they're 50-50 on Gyökeres or Sesko. That's what he's saying in the Q&A last night. And we're going, hang on a minute. For the last month, you've been telling us, listen, mate, Gyökeres is number one priority. You know, now you're telling us it's 50-50. Sesko, you know, because of his age.
They're all over the place, by the way, them lot. They're all over the place.
They ain't got a clue, have they?
They haven't got a clue. Scooby. And I'm not saying that Romano's better than Ornstein or Jacobs is better than Sammy Mock, but I don't have a clue. I don't particularly. If I had to pick one who I believe has got a lot right, it would probably be Fabrizio Romano. All right. However, when I look at them all, they all get bits and pieces right and wrong. What I'm finding from some of the journalists now are interested in, are looking very advanced, or whatever. They all use words really carefully so that they can't say they're going to sign him or they're not going to sign him. So it's all a load of waffle, in my opinion, anyway. Something you said, which I wanted to pick up on as well, right, was I do not understand, personally, how we can have a section of the fans that are massively into he can't do no wrong. Where it frustrates me even more is we get pundits doing it, right?
Yeah.
Now, my favourite two pundits, without a doubt, are Merce and Roy Keane. And I'll tell you why I like Merce and Roy Keane, right? As much as they get laughed at with some of the bits they say it how it is. Merce is not trying to get a job at the Emirates. Roy Keane is not trying to get a job at Old Trafford. Now, with Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville, I think they're really good pundits. I think they're exceptional, in fact. When it comes to Manchester United and Liverpool, however, it's very, very washy. I don't like anything they say about Liverpool in Jamie Carragher's sense and Man United with Gary Neville. I don't know why, because they're still extremely close to the club. So they can't say what they really want to. Martin Keown, he's another one. The stuff Martin Keown says, how dare he say some of the stuff he says? He grew up with George. I grew up watching him under George Graham, winning trophies, accepting that nothing was acceptable other than winning. And Wrighty, my hero, still haven't met Wrighty, and I'd love to one day. Absolutely love him. He's the reason I love Arsenal, right? I look at the stuff he's saying and I think, look, I love you, Wrighty. I'll never, ever hate him. But I know what he's doing. He has to be careful because he's very close to the club still. He gets to go in and do the PR stuff with Saka and the Haaland boys. He can't then all of a sudden turn and go, this manager ain't good enough, because he won't be allowed to back in to do it. That's not a opinion. That's just a fact, Curtis. Yeah. And I've been on shows with people before, whether it's on this channel or other channels, where people have said, look, please respect my position. I really don't want to go down that kind of road with that question. And I respect that so much, because at least they're admitting it. It's these people that sit there and go, no, it ain't that. It ain't that. Well, it is that. Just say it. It's like if I was the journalist, I wouldn't be able to say the stuff I'm saying. I wouldn't be allowed in the press conference, bruv. Yeah. So
and do you know what? We understand that.
Yeah,
we understand that, Dan.
I respect it. Yeah.
But do you know, there's a difference, Dan. You know, if you're in a job where, like, let's say you're a journalist, or listen, I met Ian Wright last year again in LA, right? He was working with Adidas, and they sent him out there to promote the new kit. I think it was the away kit that they were promoting. And obviously, he's meeting up with Arsenal over there. And he can sit on the fence and stay quiet about things if he thinks, listen, I can't affect the paycheck. Like, I got family to feed. Sometimes you understand that, but to cap for everything that the club is doing It's like you're just insulting the fans by doing that. Because I want to make it clear, and people say this all the time, and we've spoken about this on the phone and stuff. We're totally aware of the good that Mikel Arteta has done at the club. It's not like we've got an agenda, we can't stand it. We can see, listen, mate, you've got us competing again every year. You're giving us hope that we can win major trophies. You've got a team that we can connect with again. We're in the Champions League. We're getting to the semi-final. We're not oblivious to the good that he's done at this football club. Like, and I even told him when I met him, I said, listen, Mikel, well done for what you've done, but we need them trophies. He said, I'm going to try our best. But there has to be a point that you say as a big club, he's been given a lot of chances here to make something happen. And the excuses that people have used, the narrative was, but this is Pep, this is Man City all conquering. How are we supposed to win with them dominating? They had the fall off that we've waited 3 years to happen. 3 years for City to trip over. And we didn't take advantage of that. We then stumbled behind them while Liverpool overtook both of us and said, thank you very much. Liverpool winning the league, let's be honest, that the narrative was this was our season to win the title if Man City anything happens. City lost Rodri for 90% of the season.
Yeah.
He played the first few games, got injured against us. He's just come back at the end. That's the Ballon d'Or winner. So effectively, that's the world's best player, right? He's going to be back next season. City are going to spend. You can all see with the players they're being linked with, Reinders, Havertz, all these players. So you expect City to come back. Liverpool have clearly got money. Gyökeres, Frimpong, they're being linked with Havertz as well. They're apparently going to go for a striker if Darwin Núñez goes. So them two are going to be spending money. So the league title probably gets harder to win next season, with those two getting stronger and stronger. So people always have this thing that Arsenal finish second, so next year we'll win it because we're that big. If we get a striker, we'll win it. But then maybe we need more than a striker now because now we need a left winger. And now we need a creative midfielder. And now we need a centre midfielder. And now we're going to need another goalkeeper. You've got a new sporting director. So how's that dynamic going to work with Arteta? So listen, he, of course, deserves his credit for the good that he's done. But it's like he stalled the car at the traffic lights, bro. Like, you now need to go to that next level. We're Arsenal fans. We're not just going to celebrate competing year after year. And the thing is, Dan, I think sometimes to win the Premier League or to win the Champions League, sometimes you've actually got to win the Carabao Cup first, or you've got to win a couple of FA Cups, because it's kind of like once you get that bug for winning, it's like you want more of it as a player. You're desperate. You go to Wembley, you walk up the steps, you get the gold medal. I need more of this. Odegaard's and Saliba's and these guys, they haven't won a piece of silverware at Arsenal. Eddie Nketiah's won more at Crystal Palace than Saliba's won at Arsenal. Saliba ain't won nothing unless you're talking about the Charity Shield, which I don't class that as any major trophy. So these guys will leave eventually. We all know as Arsenal fans, we've all got that little concern about Saliba and Madrid. So if you don't move forward in football and you stand still, people will overtake you. And that's what's happened this season. Arsenal stood still with that summer transfer window. Nobody that we signed in that window pushed the club to the next level. We felt it when Declan Rice was signed. Our midfield feels like it's been transformed with him in it. We're a better team. That summer window, none of them players transformed our team. Marino did well up front, but in midfield, I think he's been poor. Calafiori's always injured. He's probably a better centre-back than a left-back. The two lone players were a waste of time. So, and then we've been taken over by what Liverpool did. So there has to be a time that we say, look, and I'm just hoping that with the appointment of Berta, that is the Kroenke saying, listen, okay, we're happy with where we are. We now want to win. So we're going to bring in the win now sporting director, which we've needed for over a decade since David Dean left, right?
Yeah.
All this Gazidis and, Mislintat and Jason Ato and Edu, those guys ain't going to win your titles. You need a shock when it comes to sporting director business that gets deals done, that is ruthless, that has good relationships with the biggest agents. So I'm pinning my hopes on Berta fixing things for us, which is a lot because how much responsibility is he going to have? But I just hope this Tottenham thing wakes us up. That's got to be the fuel to
Yep.
motivate the club, because I'd feel a little bit embarrassed if I was Arsenal in the staff right now. I'd be saying, look, they've lost 21 games this season. They are an absolute laughingstock in the Premier League, and they are ending this season on such a high with such a great memory. And we're 10 times better than them, and our players are booking their holidays, just going, where are you going after Southampton? The Maldives, Bahamas? Yeah,
Yep.
do you know what I mean? So
Yep.
we have to wake up now as a club. Playtime's over. The process, all that nonsense got finished. Either win now or move this guy on and get a win now manager. They're saying they want win now players. Get the win now manager with the sporting director. And so let's see how this
Listen,
season goes.
we've got to win the dog. Let's get wins to players and win the manager, yeah, because that's what I
That's
want.
it. We need two more.
We need two more now. But what was interesting for me though was so this come out in his press conference. He was asked on whether Arsenal should be in the conversation for players like Rodrygo, and his answer was, if you want to win major trophies, you have to be the best in the market. Teams that win have the best players always at this level. And what was interesting on top of that for me was what he said on the microphone at the end of the last home match. It's for them upstairs now. Now, he's never said that, Curtis. It's always been me and
No.
Edu, we, us, we're going to do this. Together, we're going to try and do this. Together, we're going to build the side. We're going to try and up the level here. We're going to try and improve the squad. Now, he's completely wiped his responsibility of that. It's not me. And he's like, I said last night, he's doing the old, what's that dance move? He keeps doing that upstairs. Like, because that's what he's pointing at, right? So, for me, what that says to me, I'm reading between the lines here, but I'm kind of believing I'm on the right track here. I think the Cronkies have said, no more. It's Berta now. You ain't got no say in this now. Now, I could be wrong because there's a lot of reports we're going to come on to next about who we're going for, and it looks like there's a little bit of tug of war going on by, outside looking in. But I think he's looking there now. Staying alive. That's what it is, Ryan. Staying alive.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Yeah. That's the one. That is the one it was, man. So I wonder if Andrea Berta is the boss now. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see who has the most power now, because Arteta's voice has been incredibly powerful. Josh Kroenke has also been behind the scenes incredibly powerful, you believe. Stan's silent, don't care. Josh is the guy who's potentially running things, and in my opinion, runs the club now, really. Arteta's given a massively powerful voice, and it looks like Edu's had enough and gone. What's going to happen now with Andrea Berta? And what I think is even more interesting is that the Denver Nuggets, they ended up bringing somebody in to help the manager, and then it didn't work out. They ended up getting rid of them both. So I wonder if this is the first stage of you're under pressure, this guy's going to help you, and if you can't do it, we might have to think about replacing you. And I wonder if the Cronkies are finally waking up. I hope that's the case, Curtis. I still have in the back of my mind they'll be happy with Champions League, whatever, because of the dollar. But he's come out in the kind of program and the statement at the end of the season saying we're ready to invest. Berta's coming in. Arteta predicts a huge summer. I'm now starting to think, is this the summer we're going to be convinced is the one to get us across the line, bruv? What do you think?
So I'm looking at it like this, Dan. The rumor and what I've heard, and people who obviously speak to this guy, is like sort of the Edu was pushed to the back of the class, right? Which is why he left. Obviously, disagreement. I think they took the power away from him. And Arteta was dominating. If you look at the reports, there was reports saying Arteta is now a mini Wenger in that he's running the whole club. He's having final say on who gets bought and things like that. So I think what they've done is said, right, we're going to bring Berta in because we want to win at least one time. If you look at the Kroenkes and their other clubs, they usually win once at most of them. What people criticize them for is they win once and then seem to just go, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
Which is where they're criticized a lot. Now,
they
haven't
dominate.
They don't dominate. It's like, right, we've won a Super Bowl. That's the end of it. We've won, an NBA championship. But then they are acting because, like you said, with the Denver Nuggets, they weren't happy with their season. They sacked the coach, brought another one in. They ended up losing in the playoffs this year anyway. So it didn't work out for them. But clearly they tweak things there when they feel they need to. If you're Josh, surely Josh would be keen to impress his dad and say, look what I've done with Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? I've won the league. And, get all them bragging rights. You've also got to look at that Liverpool have just won the title with American owners. Now, you would think these billionaires have got a big ego and would be desperate to prove a point. You know, you'd be annoyed thinking, I'm the big rich billionaire, and these guys over at Liverpool have won the title after spending 12 million on a player last summer. So if we look at what Arteta has actually said rather than us guessing, if you look at the language Arteta was using in January, he was saying, who told you I don't want a striker? I do want players. Our squad is short. We're going to see what we can do. I think January is the first window where Arteta felt like the club let him down. I think as fans, we've looked at him a lot of the time and gone, Havertz a terrible signing, Fabio Vieira, Sterling, all these guys, and he has to take blame for that along with Edu. I think January is the first window where Arteta was like, guys, it's not me. They've let me down. Remember, they put reports out saying Arteta wanted Ollie Watkins. Yeah. But Tim Lewis said he's not worth 60 million. So they didn't buy a player that he wanted. And then you've got guys saying as well that he would have taken loan players. The club never did a loan move either, which it baffles me that they never signed anyone on loan when you look at players like Asensio. So I think the club sat there in January and said, you know what, Mikel, there'll be money there in the summer. Just get through with what you've got. And to be fair, and this is not me defending him at all, because you guys know my thoughts on Arteta, and that summer window was his fault. But he actually, from January to the end of the season, did quite well with the squad that we had. To get to the Champions League semi-final with Marino up top and Kivior at centre-back is probably an overachievement, to be honest. However, he's got to take the blame for you messed up in the summer when you should have bought a striker and
in January.
And in January, yeah, he should have got a better midfielder because Marino hasn't worked in midfield. So I think Arteta's probably starting to think, you know what? I need to make sure if Arsenal kick me out of this club, I need to make sure that I look a little bit innocent in the situation. So I think he's starting to protect himself a little bit because he's probably thinking, Berta's here now, and he seems very powerful very quickly. You know, he's saying, no, don't go for this guy, go for that guy. And he probably feels a little bit like the power's been taken away from him. So I think Arteta's now starting to say things where if he gets sacked or ends up leaving Arsenal, he's going to make it look like in the media, they didn't back me. I needed a striker and a left winger, and they didn't get me what I needed, you know. So I think that's what Arteta's doing now, because you've never seen Arteta criticize the board. He said these are the best owners in the world. Now you're turning around going, it's all about them upstairs. So he's probably saying, I've given them my list of players. It's up to them to sign them. So I think he's trying to put himself in a situation where the fans start saying it's the ownership's fault more than Arteta's fault, because he's only got 2 years left on his deal. So it'd be quite easy to sack him at the end of this season with a year left. So that's what I think he's doing, which would be quite clever.
Look, I've got to be honest. I look at the scenario of them two working together and think if he can work alongside Simeone, he can work alongside anyone. What I will say is Arteta needs to look at some level of respect of this guy. Arteta needs to look at what Berta has done and come from. He's already made nice comments about him and compliments, but he's not going to journalists, right? But behind the scenes, he needs to say, look, I want to learn from you. I want to replicate who you've brought in. Your buying and selling has been phenomenal at Atletico Madrid. Guide me, help me. I haven't always got this right. I've made bad signings like Fabio Vieira, Tavares, and Lokonga, who are still here. I can't get rid of these guys. Let's try and help me out. I've got some good guys. I've got some good eggs, which he has, to be fair. The Timbers and Parties, Gabriels and Rices, etc., I think are great. But unfortunately, there's a hell long list of about 20 players that have just been absolute misses. Now, some of that was Edu as well. I'm not saying it's all on Mikel Arteta, but he now needs to say, right, I need to concentrate on this pitch because this is where it matters. I need you to help me, though. I need this profile. Go get it. I need this.
Yeah.
This is the sort of player I want. It might be that Sesko is mentioned and he goes, right, I know the sort of profile you want. Trust me, you don't want Sesko. He's going to be good in about 5 or 6 years. You want the guy who's doing it now in Victor Gyokeres. You want Zubimendi? Cool. You want this winger? Don't go and get that winger. Rodrygo's available. Don't look at Nico Williams. Rodrygo's ready now. This is what I want to be seeing happening, Ran. So let's move to the Gyokeres and Sesko thing, because the kind of stuff that I'm hearing is that they're still a little bit undecided here. 1 minute it was that Sesko was coming and agreed. Next minute it was that Gyokeres is the guy. Now, Team News and Ticks, I don't know how reliable these people are, by the way, on Patreon, says that he believes that Sesko is the first choice. However, Gyökeres is still there as an option. Do you think this is a bit of a tug of war thing, bruv? And that both of these guys are saying, nope, you want to go Gyökeres, but I really want Sesko, but no, Gyökeres is better. But I have had a gentleman's agreement with Leipzig and Sesko that he's coming. Rah, 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 what we doing? And like, I think you and I are aligned. We both want Victor Gyokeres, I imagine, right? I'll let you come in on that. But for me, I don't think we should be allowing Arteta to be getting involved playing tugs of wars. I think Burton needs to be able to do his job. And if Victor Gyokeres is available, surely that's the guy that's ready now. I'm sure Sesko will be a good player in a few years. I'm not really a massive fan from what I've seen, but it has only been glimpses. What I've seen is a lot more of Gyökeres, and that's the guy I want. Do you still believe that that is kind of the way it's happening behind the scenes here? What do you see happening here?
I think with Sesko, I think number one, they've done a lot of groundwork for him already. So clearly he's the one that Arteta likes. I think for a couple of reasons. Number one, his profile isn't as big as Gyökeres. So I think from an Arteta point of view, it's probably easier to manage Sesko, and you can also rotate him with Havertz without too much backlash coming from him, because he's only 21. He hasn't done that much. Where I think Gyökeres would come to Arsenal and be like, bro, you can't be rotating me with this guy Havertz. I'm way better than him. That's the first thing. Second of all, Sesko's 6'5". I know Gyökeres is actually quite tall as well, but we put loads of crosses in. Maybe he thinks having a tall striker is going to help when we play a lot more direct as well. I think if you just watch the two players and what they're doing at the moment, I think it's very difficult to think you would want Sesko over Gyökeres. So, like, he's not even tearing up trees in the Bundesliga. So what makes anybody think he's going to come to the Premier League and start ripping it up? He's got 13 league goals this season in the Bundesliga. We're desperate for a 20-goal a season striker, and we're going to buy a guy that's got 13 goals in a league that's easier to score goals in. It doesn't make sense. So I don't see why you wouldn't want Gyökeres over Sesko. Now, yeah, from a financial point of view, I mean, I read a report this morning that Arsenal are saying, look, they believe Sesko can be one of the best strikers in the world in a few years. And he's 21, and they feel it could be like an Isak, where he's not top quality at the time, but they think he can become top quality, which I do understand. They might be looking at it and saying, Gyökeres is better than Sesko now, but Sesko's going to be better than him in 2 years. But have we got 2 years to wait for that? Has Arteta got 2 years? Because Arteta will get himself the sack waiting for Sesko to become a good player. We're not going to give him the time for Sesko to become a good player. You need to do it now. So to me, Sesko is the kind of signing that we should have bought 2 years ago when we were fighting for top four and Project Youth and all of that sort of stuff. You've got to buy the win now striker. For me, Arsenal, you get Isak, you get Gyökeres, or you get Osimhen. They're all doing it right now. And people say, yeah, but Gyökeres doing it in Portugal. His numbers are phenomenal. Like, he's not getting 20, 25 goals. He's the top scorer in Europe.
Like double that, isn't it?
Yeah, he's getting like double that. And I know people saying, yeah, I think he's got 17 penalties or whatever, but they're still goals. If you score 17 tap-ins at the back post, nobody complains. So 17 penalties, it makes no difference to me. He's got about 50 goals in all competition. So that's still like 33 goals that aren't penalties anyway. And he's ready to do it. He's got the personality. He scored in the Champions League, hat-trick against City. He was joint top scorer in the group stage in the Champions League as well. So it's even split game in there. He's talking about Darwin Núñez, but I think you look at Darwin Núñez. He was chaotic. You even saw it for Benfica. It was like chaos. You know, he wasn't as good in terms of the physicality and the different profile of finishing. I even thought Gyökeres when he played against Arsenal. I thought he was good. Like, I know we battered them,
Same.
but the way he spun Saliba on the half turn and ran away from him and hit the post, I thought, you know what? I haven't seen many players do that to him. So, and let's be honest, people, let's just put it in perspective here, because we might not all be sold on Gyökeres, right? Some people have concerns, scores a lot of penalties, doesn't score many headers, he's doing it in Portugal. That seems to be the things that people are throwing against him. We paid 65 million for Kai Havertz. Yeah, a player that 99% of us didn't want anywhere near the club. Most Chelsea fans wanted him out the door. He's been a failed midfielder that we've put up front to try and rescue him. And then he's ended up failing up front as well when you look
And
at
that's
the
now
mission.
caused a massive problem because of this 290 a week. So whenever this is why the Sesko thing works for Arteta, because he's young and he can come in and rotate with Havertz, whereas Gyökeres is going to basically displace him in the team. It was a stupid signing. Stupid signing.
I've said so many times, we've spoke about it. That Havertz signing is the worst signing that Arteta has made at this football club. He's not the worst player that he's signed, but it's the after effect of that deal. His contract is so big that when you sit down with Saka and Saliba, the first thing I'm saying as their agent, as Saka's agent, he's 10 times better than Havertz. You got to pay him more than Havertz. So all of a sudden, you got to pay Saka 300 grand a week. You've probably got to pay Saliba at least 250, right? On top of that, the reason Arteta probably wants Sesko, as I said, is because that doesn't end Havertz's career at Arsenal. Sesko's 21. He hasn't done that much. He'll rotate them. He might even play them together sometimes, put Havertz attacking midfield. If you sign Gyökeres with his profile, top scorer in Europe, starting for Sweden, done it in the Champions League, all these big clubs want him, Gyökeres ends Havertz's career at Arsenal as a striker. Now your top earner's sitting on the bench. The owners are going to go, how come you £65 million top earners on the bench, Mika? Oh, now you're holding your hands up admitting you've got it wrong. Because that's what you're doing effectively. Now
and
you've
if he
got
dares
to
drop him into midfield again, mate,
mate, he was a disaster in midfield. So it's crazy, isn't it? We sold Xhaka. Most of us wanted Xhaka gone for about 5 years. Then we got his best season out of him. Then he leaves. We signed Havertz for 65 million to replace Xhaka, and he flops. So then we signed Marino for 35 million, and in midfield so far, he's flopped. So we've spent 100 million replacing Xhaka. And in the end, the 105 million pound number 6, Declan Rice, is now the Granit Xhaka replacement in that role. So effectively, we've spent 205 million pound to replace Granit Xhaka. And that's where I talk about recruitment. It's crazy. When Liverpool are signing McAllister for 35 million, one of the best centre mids in the league, one signing, no messing around. Didn't need to buy 3 players to replace Wijnaldum when he left Liverpool. You know what I mean? And this is my problem with Arteta, bro. Like, he doesn't nail the recruitment enough. He walked into the door. We had Kieran Tierney at left back. You've signed Zinchenko, you've signed Kivior, you've signed Calafiore,
Tavares,
4 left backs, and the guy you've ended up playing at left back is the youth team centre mid. And all them other left backs are just Calafiore will be here and Kivior centre back cover. So you spent all that money to get a left back, and the left back ends up coming out of the youth team. And then up front, you've signed Jesus. You basically ruined his career. His knees are hanging off. You've put Havertz up there, not good enough. You put Marino up there, he did well, but obviously not a long-term solution. You've tried Trossard up there, and we still need a striker. And you binned Aubameyang. Fair enough, attitude not good, turning up late, but he was a top-quality striker. You guys were high-fiving each other. Oh, great, we gave him away for nothing. Let's high-five. He went to Barca and won the league. And then went and banged goals in at Marseille. And he's still banging goals in now. I believe he's in a cup final this week in Saudi. Do you know what I mean? So it takes Arteta 3-4 players. You give Emi Martinez away to Villa, basically gave him away 20 million for a World Cup winning goalkeeper. And then you go, right, Leno, you're my guy, mate. I'm going to keep you, Leno. Get rid of Emi. Then a year later, you get rid of Leno and sign Ramsdale. I need someone better on the ball. Ramsdale team of the season. Right, I'm going to get rid of you now, David Raya. So it's took you about 3 or 4 goals. Now we're going to get Garcia. And he probably wants first team football. So this is the problem with his recruitment. It's like they don't lose one and buy one and it's fixed. It's like, oh, I got to buy 4 before I figure out what the problem is. So to me, I look at it like this. I think if we sign Sesko in 12 months' time, I think we'll be sitting here saying we need a striker. That's my genuine belief. I don't think Sesko is ready to come to Arsenal and lead us to a title. I actually think there is potential there. For a guy of 6'5", he's very quick. Very quick. You know, he's definitely got something about him, but I don't think he's ready to come to Arsenal and be the main man.
I think if we allow Victor Gyokeres to go to another Premier League club, he'll outscore our striker, whoever we bring in.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
what I think. Now, the only club I would accept him going to ahead of Arsenal is Barcelona. I would understand that. He'll go and replace Lewandowski, right? And he obviously, that's an unbelievable job. And that could still happen, right?
Yeah.
But I think if he comes to England, he has to choose Arsenal over Chelsea, United, Newcastle, Liverpool, the other guys. Because for me, he is the missing piece in the first 11 alongside maybe 2 others that I go, right, we're ready now. Yeah, because it isn't just about buying a striker, but he is the absolute number one for me if we can't get Isak. Victor Gyokeres has proven in the last 3 years and longer that he's an absolute bagsman. He's worth taking the punt on 65 million. We paid that for Havertz. Plus, he's been proven in Champions League and Europa League level, and he's now scoring goals for his country as well as his club. I think with the England experience he's got as well, this will not be a risk. This is an absolute risk worth taking, if you could say. So for me, that absolutely has to be one of the first signings that we get. If it's going to be Zubimendi, like people are saying, fine by me. I'd prefer it to be a striker that comes in first. But if Zubimendi's coming in alongside Gyökeres, cool, sounds good. So that has to happen. But the other bit of news I wanted to talk about was this Rodrygo link, because what's quite interesting is that we're looking at Rodrygo, it seems, and I don't know your thoughts on this one. I think this is an absolute no-brainer. Like, for me, this has to happen. Arsenal continue to seriously target a move to sign Rodrygo. He's at the top of their list of targets, and that's come from Pletigo. Now, again, not saying that's most reliable of sources, but if this is an opportunity, this has to be a absolute for me, because I saw rumours the other day that Nico Williams was being linked to a move to Real Madrid. That's quite interesting for me if that's to be the case, because obviously Rodrygo might actually be allowed to be one of the casualties. Now, Xabi Alonso hasn't even got his foot under the desk really yet, but he'll obviously be having a conversation about who's in and out. And I imagine that Vinny and Mbappe will be ahead of Rodrygo in the list of who they want to keep. So Rodrygo, if he becomes available, they're saying for around about £85 million. That is an absolute steal for a talented, good 24-year-old international doing everything for club and country. And to be fair to him, won everything at Real Madrid pretty much already. This is an absolute must-buy, no-brainer, Curtis, for me.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about it a few times. I would love Rodrygo at Arsenal. I'll be honest with you, Dan. You know, a week ago, I was kind of like, oh, I think he might leave. But for some reason now, I'm not sure he's going to leave. I don't know. I read something yesterday as well saying that Rodrygo's desperate to stay at Madrid and hopes that Alonso, I think it was on Madrid Zone or Madrid Extra, they were saying basically, you know, he wants to try and save his career at Real Madrid, and he's hoping Alonso's going to give him another opportunity and maybe change things with a different system. I'm not sure they're going to let him go. I'm just not sure they're going to let him go. Because why would you let him go? They
I
play
agree.
with a front.
Why would you?
Why would you? They play with a front three, and the right wing market is poor at the moment. You're looking at Yamal, Salah, Saka, and Rodrygo really as the main right wingers. If they got him, they're not going to get Salah at his age. They're not going to get Lamine. I don't think they really would go for Saka. So I'm just not sure he's available. If I reckon what's happened is his agent has probably approached clubs and said, would you be interested in Rodrygo if he was available? We think he might be sold if somebody offered 80, 85 million. This is his wage. This is what he would want to come to you. I reckon his agent is just giving him options in case Alonso comes in and says, I don't want you, and then he's got a move lined up already. I'm not really seeing anything from Real Madrid to say they're actively trying to get rid of him. Now, like you said, that Nico Williams one's interesting because I was reading more. I don't know how true this is. They were saying he's a Real Madrid fan. And that he maybe wants that move more than Barcelona, and Barcelona have just given Rafinha a new contract as well. So that's probably their left wing and right wing with Yamal sort of tied up as well. So, listen, if Rodrygo's available, go and do it. I think he's a quality player. I know some people say his numbers are not that high, but I think it's very difficult for a right footer playing on the right wing to score a lot of goals. Most wingers play on the opposite wing now, so they can cut inside. And I think Rodrygo's numbers would be higher if he was playing on the left, which is his natural position. But obviously with Vinicius, he can't get in the team. So yeah, I'm not overly confident that deal's going to happen, to be honest. If it did, I think it'd be a great signing. But I'm not. I don't want Nico Williams from what I've seen of him. I mean, I do like his pace. It's good to have quick players, but I'm not convinced by him, and the wages that he wants as well are crazy. So the left wing market's quite weak at the moment. I feel like a few years ago, left wingers around the world were so good. Now you're looking at what with Nico Williams, Rodrygo if he's available, Lookman, maybe Leao if there's because I saw AC Milan didn't even make the Conference League, so maybe you could get a cut price Leao deal. It just the market's weak. I think Lookman's
There's
got a
only
release.
Rodrygo, isn't there? There's
There's
literally
only
Rodrygo.
listen at the start of the year we was like, bro, get Kvaratskhelia from Napoli, right? He obviously moves. That miss was ridiculous that we didn't get him. Rodrygo feels like the next one, if he becomes available, you got to go for. But the rest of them are just kind of all sort of.
They're all the same level, really, ain't they?
They're all the same level. Like when we signed Alexis, I was like, this guy's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Like I loved Alexis, even when
Same.
he was in
Yeah.
Italy. They said that Messi didn't like him because he was so greedy, Alexis. But obviously we welcome that at Arsenal. But the left wing market at the moment is.
I think if it ain't gonna be, I mean, Kvaratskhelia was actually my number one. Rodrygo
Yeah.
was up there, but for me, if we can't get them, I think Lookman would probably be the one that I would look at. That is a huge downgrade on Rodrygo, of course, and obviously Kvaratskhelia, but I think he's probably the best of the. I'm not sure about Nico Williams, Jamie
No,
Gittins, young. Mitoma,
no.
I think he's all right, but I don't look at him and go wow for the money. I mean, he gets a few goals, but it's not like wow. Brian and
Yeah.
Mbeumo would probably be one of the others that I'd look at, or there's obviously links with I don't know how true they are with Eze, who's got a £68 million release clause. They're saying Arsenal could look to trigger that. He can play left and attacking midfield, to be fair to him. So Erdegaard can get some cover too. So I don't know what your thoughts are on Eze as a player. And Martinelli and Trossard. Like I'm looking at reports suggesting that Trossard's looking at staying, giving him a new contract. Martinelli, they're not going to give a new contract because he's got 2 years plus another year they can extend. I didn't know they had an option of another.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
And that if there is a money that comes in 50 million or upwards, then we might actually take that. So I think there's a lot of work to be done in this position. I know we want a left attacking winger, but we've got two. And if Eze was to come as well, he could play there and obviously in the attack mind. And I don't know if we're getting Eze, by the way. And Rodrygo coming in, I don't think we've got room for all of them. So I don't know what's going to happen there, Curtis, with Martinelli and Trossard, bruv.
Yeah, man. I mean, in terms of Eze, I love him as a player. The difference with Eze for me is I would sign him and play him ahead of Odegaard. I wouldn't sign him and play him. I wouldn't play him on the left. I don't think he's great on the left. I think you've got to give him that free role and let him just cause problems. But I just can't see him doing that. He loves Odegaard too much. In terms of Trossard, I just don't understand why he's getting a new contract. I've got no idea. Do you know how many watch-alongs this season I've been? What is this guy doing? Like I call him Stella or Trossard because he plays like he's been drinking cans of beer all night. Like, don't get me wrong, he comes up with some good moments, some big goals, and like you said, squad depth. But like, I just don't. He's got a year left on his deal, and then I think I read that he's got a 1-year option to take him to 2027. So effectively, he's got 2 years left on his deal. Why does he need a new contract? Just leave him till 2027 on the same money. He's 30 years of age. In 2 years, he'll be 32. You get rid of him at 32. He doesn't need a pay rise. He doesn't need an extension on that deal. So I've got no idea why Trossard's getting a new deal. Makes no sense whatsoever. I think I had Ben Jacobs on the other day, and I was speaking to him off camera. He didn't really say anything too groundbreaking, but he seemed to think that Arsenal were talking to the Saudis, and there was like, it looked like we might move someone there if we got a good offer. Now, obviously, he was sort of saying the two players they've looked at are Gabriel Magalhaes and Gabriel Martinelli. So I'm thinking if Arsenal may be thinking, do we sell Martinelli?
I
Buy a
hope it
left
ain't
wing.
Gabriel. I hope it ain't
Listen,
Gabriel.
if Magalhaes, bro, let me tell you now, I'll be streaming for about 15 hours that day. I'll be protesting by myself. But
Nah, mate, yeah, I'll jump on with you because I don't want this guy going anywhere, mate.
no,
Like
he
him and
can't go.
Saliba have to stay. Like, have
They
to.
have to. They have to. But maybe they're thinking, get rid of Martinelli, get some decent dough for him, and use Trossard as the backup. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I think he probably looks at it and thinks it's easier to buy a new left winger and have Trossard as the cover. Because Trossard's 30s on less wages, there's probably less pressure to play Trossard, where Martinelli's on 180 grand a week. He's like 22, 23, Brazilian international. He's probably got more value to him. And I've grown frustrated with Martinelli. I'll be honest, if me and you would have sat here 2 years ago, I'd be saying Martinelli's one of my favourite players at Arsenal. Actually, at one point, I'll even be honest, I went as far as saying I don't know who's got the higher ceiling out of him and Saka at one stage. I was talking like that. Now, I look at him and just think he's
Just ain't
not,
developed, has he?
he's just not developed at all now. Is that down to the manager? Or is it down to him? Is he just not a great footballer? We signed him from the Brazilian 4th division. So maybe he's an underdeveloped young player that wasn't that great technically, but was just a brilliant athlete, great pace. But the problem is, when we got Arteta, we heard all this. He's brilliant with wingers. Look what he did with Sané and Sterling. But they were really well developed top players already. I don't think it took like an amazing coach to make them two good wingers. They were top wingers already. So Martinelli, I've always had this thing with Martinelli. Like, I wonder if we sell him and he goes somewhere else and does really well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I've always thought if he ends up at like PSG or Bayern or Dortmund in a quick team, would he look really good playing left wing for a team like that?
He's got the potential to, hasn't he? He's got that potential to go
Yeah.
and do that, you know. And I must say, like, I think he's got everything to his game, and I think it'll be a shame if he goes. If there's one I'm letting go, it's Trossard. But I think Martinelli, you know, I think he can still, and I'd like to see Martinelli alongside a creator and a striker. I really would. Whereas Trossard, you kind of know what you're getting. You're going to get a few goals off the bench. He's losing his pace. I don't like him on the left anymore, if I'm honest, Trossard. So for me, I feel like it's got to be him that goes, but it looks like they're trying to keep him. And look, I don't mind them all staying. I don't mind Trossard and Martinelli staying with a winger coming in, and you use Trossard as a backup striker or across the front three. Martinelli's your backup left winger. That'd be fine for me. I don't care that. Yeah, it doesn't bother me so much. But I just feel like it would be a bit of a waste to keep them both.
Do you know what, Dan? Yeah, you know, thinking about it, right? 2 seasons ago, when we obviously 15 goals Odegaard, 15 goals Martinelli. I think Gabriel Jesus was massive for those two when he signed. When we first signed him, and I remember watching him in pre-season, I said, this guy's movement and link-up play is exceptional. And I actually think Jesus made Martinelli and Odegaard better players.
Yeah.
Because he supported Odegaard and dropped deep and kind of pulled people away for Odegaard to get on the ball. And he linked up well with Martinelli on that left-hand side, right? And then you look at it, Jesus constantly has been injured after that first season. We've obviously had Havertz and Marino. And then, big up DG.
Big up
and
DG,
then
bro.
I feel like the other players' levels have kind of dropped as well. So you just sometimes wingers maybe look better when they've got a good striker to use as well. Because I think a big problem with Arsenal is I think we're too predictable that I call us a lopsided team. We're a right-hand side team. everything goes down our right-hand side. It's all Saka, Odegaard, and Timber. It obviously was Ben White. That year, we had Xhaka, Zinchenko, and Martinelli on that left. And they were all doing damage that season, all doing well. So that's why I think we were so ferocious, because we were destroying teams down both wings. I feel like now, whoever's playing left wing for Arsenal, they're going to give you the ball and you are by yourself, mate. Like, I'm
Yeah,
telling you,
man.
you're like a man stranded in the desert. Your left back ain't overlapping. He's inverting. Declan Rice is trying to figure out how to be a box-to-box midfielder. So his angles are different, because Xhaka would overlap Martinelli sometimes because he's left-footed, so he could cross with his left, where Rice doesn't want to do that. And then you had Jesus, who was linking up as well. So we've got to get that left-hand side. Because if I was playing against Arsenal now as a manager, I'd say double up on Saka and leave him on the left. If Martinelli wants to go 1v1, and that's what PSG did. Hakimi just went 1v1 with him and pocketed him in the second game, because he knew, like, you ain't got enough to your game. Where on the other side, Saka sometimes got 2 or 3 players on him. So I would love, and if I get in that press conference, I'm going to actually say to Arteta, Mikel, 22-23 Arsenal was absolutely incredible to watch. Even though we didn't win the league, it was just like, this is a joy to watch. And you think, if you could have played like that and just changed the personnel, change Jesus into a better striker, change Xhaka into a better midfielder, I feel like that team's going to win something. Even last year from January, that team was brilliant as well until the end of the season. And I
Yeah.
look at us now, and I do watch-alongs, and sometimes I'm literally slumped in the chair, like I could fall asleep watching this, especially at the Emirates with a low block. It's like we've got no idea how to break it down. Loads of possession. Nobody shoots from distance. Everything's down the right. Odegaard only passes to Saka. This team needs some variety, bro. We're like plain chicken. We need some sauce, some seasoning, some spice. We need something. We need excitement. I need a player that I want to print on the back of my shirt. You know what I mean? I need a superstar to roll in. Arteta saying all these top players want to join us. I want to see a top player join us, not Marino, not Sterling on loan, not Neto. You know what I mean? When's the last time we signed a superstar? Declan Rice was a big signing because he cost 100 million. But realistically, Aubameyang was, to me, the last signing where we were going crazy. Do you know what I mean? And Alexis Sanchez probably before
Yeah, I
that.
think
So
Ozil, Sanchez, and
Ozil,
Aubameyang with Wenger,
yeah,
they were the 3 that I looked at and thought, bro, that's mad. Florian
that's mad.
Plettenberg has literally just put out a tweet. Now, it's not a bomber like the chat are saying. It's just some news on Arsenal. So let's not get too excited. We have kind of literally just been speaking about the left wing, and Florian Plettenberg, who some people think is highly reliable, has said that Arsenal are currently very active in the market when it comes to wingers. Talks with agents at the club are in full swing. Rodrygo remains highly rated. Ademola Lookman is also still a topic due to his versatility. Andrea Berta is holding numerous talks. So we are going to get a left-sided winger, mate. It is going to happen. I just don't know which one we're going to end up getting. There's so many now. Williams was the guy they wanted. Lookman's now being looked at. Rodrigo's come to light. Brian Mbeumo is being spoken about the other day. I know he plays more on the right, but he can play left as well because he's left-footed. So there's going to be a lot of people that are going to link us with wide players. But it isn't just the wide player and the striker that we need. The creative midfielder we mentioned, Eze, would be a really good shout. I think that would be quality. I'm a fan of Alex Baena. Cunha looks like he's going to Manchester United, but I wouldn't be against him either. But then Zubamendi looks like he's being the guy. Partey looks like they want to keep him now, which, to be honest, I think is a good thing. And I really want that to be the case. And then there's links to a couple of other players. If I'm honest with you, this Joan Garcia, I think I'm saying that right. I thought it was one, but apparently it's Joan Garcia, is the guy that we were linked with. But Newcastle look like they're interested. Man City also being linked. And this guy sounds like he wants first-team football. Now, it doesn't look like Arsenal can offer that. Sam C reports that Arteta's had Zoom calls with Garcia last summer. The plan was for Garcia to be Arsenal's number 2, playing in the cup games. Arsenal's data team sees goalkeepers as an underdeveloped market and a good opportunity for value and profit. They learned from Okonkwo's situation, a keeper who may return to the Premier League and should have been sold for more. Obviously, he's at Wrexham at the moment. But I don't really care who we get in goal, bruv. I can't lie to you. I'm not going to lie and say that it's going to be a real, like, massively important position. Raya's going to be number one. I think Garcia would be a good number two. Over what I hear, it probably is going to be him looking for first team football. And I don't know that Arsenal can offer that, if I'm honest with you. Of course, the other reports as well, I'll do this together, is that we're looking at a defender. And I know not a lot of people are getting excited by that because it seems that we keep buying defenders all the time. But apparently Romano has said that Harto could be a name to watch for Arsenal. Ajax want to keep him, and that's why they recently extended his contract until 2028. But Arsenal remain absolutely keen and interested. He's high on the club's list. Let's see after the title race if they decide to try again for the 18-year-old who can play centre-back or left-back. Now, I've got to be honest with you, it doesn't really excite me about keepers or defenders, but I do think we're going to need them, bro, because we're going to need some backups, right? It looks like Kivior isn't happy with wants first-team football. We can't give him that, although I'd be happy for him to stay as a left centre-back cover, sorry. Zinchenko and Tierney are definitely going, and Tommy Asu's crocked. Obviously, Neto's going back because he's the backup goalkeeper. So if I'm honest with you, bro, I do expect us to do some business in these two areas as well, Curtis.
Bro, do you know what I always say, right? Champions League finals next week, Inter against PSG. Does anybody know who their backup goalkeepers are? PSG and Inter Milan.
Great point.
Some people might know, but I don't know. I don't know who their backup goalkeeper is, right? So, to be honest, Raya's been available for every single game this season. He hasn't been injured. You do not need to go into the market and spend big money on a backup goalkeeper, right? Barcelona got Szczesny on a free, right? You just need somebody that can step in and do decent in a cup competition. You either get a good young goalkeeper on the come up, or you get an experienced goalkeeper that's maybe in his 30s that's just happy to be there and he'll play 10 games a season. So all this, we're hunting down Juan Garcia and 30 million euros as a backup. Like, I'm not really bothered. Like, he's probably going to play about 5 games. Just play Raya all season and get some cheap backup goalkeeper. Like, it's not that it doesn't even need to be a big deal for Arsenal. I don't even see why they need to spend so much money on him, to be honest.
I mean, we've got Cole Hine, we've got Setford, we've obviously got another youngster coming through. Not that I think they're good enough to play for Arsenal, by the way. I haven't seen enough of them, but I just don't look at this scenario and think it's massively important. If we were going to be spending £25 million on Garcia, as much as I like what I'm hearing from him, is he really going to be worth that much money playing a few League Cup and FA Cup games? He's not going to play Champions League or Premier League games. Like, he's going to probably play a maximum of like 12 games next season. And that would be like amazing. Neto's played once for us and he looks shambolic. So I look at it and think maybe that Setford can just come in and we don't need him a goalkeeper. I don't know. Maybe we do. Maybe
I wonder, Dan, if he's doing the Ramsdale thing again. And well, I'm telling you, bro, because look, David Raya this season has been really good. But in these last 7-8 games, he looks like a lunatic.
Yeah, he does.
He looks like a madman all of a sudden. Now, you don't sit there as a goalkeeper and go, do you know what I'm going to do this Saturday when we're at home? I'm going to start running all over the pitch. You don't do that as a goalkeeper. You do that if you're being told to do that. It's almost like Arteta sat there and thought, right, he's playing well. What I need you to do, Raya, I need you to start playing like Edison. So I want you 30 yards off your line, playing 1-2s with the centre-backs, and pinging passes, risky passes out all over the place, which you saw against Crystal Palace. The guy got lobbed by Mateta doing that same foolishness. So I'm looking at it going, is Arteta all of a sudden looking at Raya and going, he's not as good on the ball as I need him to be, and I'm going to get a younger Spanish goalkeeper who might ease him out in a year or two. But I think what's happened with this Garcia is he had his breakthrough season, so Arteta thought, I can get him, and he won't mind sitting on the bench. But I think now a lot of bigger clubs want him as well. And he's probably saying, look, I want first-team football. City are interested, and Newcastle, and Pope's not an amazing goalkeeper. He might think I can go to Newcastle.
They need a keeper.
Yeah, you can probably go there and start for them, and they'll probably be in the Champions League. So, and then in terms of the defender, I mean, listen, bro, it's rinse and repeat in every single season. We are linked with a left-sided centre back / left back like Zinchenko. We tried to sign Lisandro Martinez, then we get Kivior, then we get Calafiori. Now we want Jarrell Hato. We might actually be available now because it looks like Liverpool end up getting Gyökeres instead.
Yeah,
Because
I
they were
like
being
him actually. I like him.
yeah,
I think he's
yeah,
got timber vibes, this Harto. I actually do think we need somebody like that, if I'm honest, if Kivior's going to go. I'd be no
if
problem
Kivior
with
goes.
you're going to lose Kivior, Tierney, and Zinchenko. You do need to bring somebody in. You don't need to go and bring another 4 players in, but you do need
Yeah,
to go and bring at least one in, maybe 2 if they are all going to like go, because Tomiyasu can't be relied upon, if I'm honest with
yeah,
you. But as for the goalkeeper, I'm with Jay. I mean, I've been mentioning this name for quite some time, to be
Schmeichel.
honest with you, Kasper Schmeichel, because that for me is just perfect. He's at Celtic. He's going to cost a few £1 million. I think he's 36. That's perfect to sit on the bench for a few games and come in with experience, Premier League proven. I think that would be the sort of signing that I would like. And I always kind of believe that you should have your number 1 and then an experienced number 2. That's what I would like. Not 2 that are trying to get the jersey, not 1
No,
that's young and crap, that if your goalkeeper goes down, he's not good enough. Someone who comes in and says, you know what, I've done this before. I've won
yeah,
stuff. Kasper Schmeichel's won stuff again this season. So I look at it now thinking, let's just get this guy in. Like, it would be a few £1 million. I don't think we're going to. I think he wants to go for another goalkeeper. It just, isn't it weird that we need another goalkeeper and a left-sided centre back every window? Like, come
yeah.
on, man. Like, sure, and still no centre forwards coming in, but we want 8 or 9 of these goalkeepers and left backs all the time. That frustrates the life out of me,
We actually need a clear out this summer.
Big time.
It's like the rebuild needs a rebuild. You got to remortgage the house and decorate and fix the garden. Like there's a few issues. Like I look at the team and I think that I'm not convinced about the midfield. I think you've got Declan Rice adapting to a new role. If Zubimendi comes in, how does he adapt to the league straight away? If he starts over Partey, which you think he would for 50 million, and then you've got a completely out of form Martin Odegaard. So that midfield doesn't totally convince me that, listen, that midfield wins you the league next year. I'm not sure if that midfield's good enough. You then look at the front line. You've got Saka recovering from a major operation. Okay, he's looked pretty good since he's come back. So I think we're hopefully all right there. Then you need a new striker and a new left winger. So 2/3 of the attack needs replacing. The midfield's a bit unstable, and your goalkeeper's running around like a lunatic. So he needs to calm David Raya down. I think the back 4 is the part of the team that we're settled. Lewis-Skelly's had a great season, got in the England squad again today at left back. Timber's brilliant. You got to hope Ben White can get fit now and give him competition. The 2 centre backs are quality. I think Kivior might leave just because I think he wants first team football. You've got Calafiori to cover Gabriel. I still kind of think we need a right-sided centre back cover, really.
Yeah,
If
I
Ben
agree.
White and Timber are your right backs, which is why I think they wanted that Howson guy who obviously has gone
Yeah,
to
it's come out
Madrid.
today to say that we were genuinely interested in that. We offered him like sort of a pitch to say this is how you'd get games, this is where we see your future. But he obviously, well, as soon as Real Madrid were interested, he was always going to go there. Do you know what I mean?
How crazy is that though? We were going to spend 50 million on a centre back and 30 million on a goalkeeper. So we would have done 80 million when we're absolutely desperate for a striker.
And then
And both of
potentially
them,
another 30 or 35 on Harto. So we're spending over
yeah,
100 on those 3 positions, which is fine if you're going to go and get the other 3 that we need. But why are you looking at those 3 first? Like, let's be real, it's mad, isn't it? Like, we've signed Zubimendi, we're linked with Harto, we're linked with Huijsen, and we're linked with the goalkeeper, Joan Garcia. Where's the wingers and strikers coming into this
yeah.
club, man? You know what I'm saying? And Eze and stuff. So, yeah, it is mad, bro. I can't lie. And I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are about like how many sort of positions you feel that we're realistically going to sign, but I'd be disappointed if at least 5 don't come in. I've got to be real.
5 new players, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, the goalkeeper will come in. They're obviously looking for a defender if they try to buy that Huijsen. Zubimendi will come in, that's free. The left winger and striker 5. That's the minimum.
I
That's
agree.
the absolute minimum because I'd add a creative midfielder and maybe another squad player just for the bench as well. I'd probably get 7, but yeah, we've got to minimum get 5.
Yeah, I
Minimum.
agree.
Yeah.
I think 7 is what I would love, 7 or 8. But I
Yeah.
think realistically, I mean, he has bought 6 players before. People say Arsene Wenger Sorry,
Mm.
Arsene Wenger. Mikel Arteta doesn't buy sort of more than 4 or 5, but he has done. I mean, he bought. I know they weren't all great, but he did bring in Tavares, Lokonga, Erdegaard, Ben White, Tomiyasu, and Ramsdale in one window, and that was his first kind of rebuild. Now we're in another rebuild, bruv.
Oh yeah,
And
Sambi Lokonga, I just read, by the way, like Sevilla don't want him, shock
oh,
horror, so
good,
he'll
mate.
probably be on the preseason tour,
The
pottering
Yaya,
around
the
with
Yaya Toure figure.
the Yaya Toure, who's more like the Yaya Sanogo. You know, he's had more loans than NatWest Bank, and we can't get rid of him. You know, so we're gonna have Lokonga back. Yeah, Marquinhos probably come back unless the Brazilian club signs him. He'll be
Well, I
crying on
think
the pitch.
isn't his contract up now,
Is
Marquinhos?
it up?
I don't
Let's have
know.
it. Surely.
I mean, how
How many
long have
more
we
years?
given this guy a? This guy's got a. He's got a contract that's longer than Abu Dhabi's, isn't he? I mean, crikey, this
Oh,
guy. I can't believe that this guy is still. When's his contract
you
up?
got
Surely.
Reece Nelson as well. He's going to
Oh
be a
yeah.
pottering about. Marquinhos contract. He's surely out of contract.
I
His
don't think
contract.
he. Maybe it's one more year.
No, 2027.
Oh my god,
Signed a
man!
5-year deal in 2022.
What? That's mad.
Yeah, he'll be back pre-season on the right. Reece Nelson on the left. Sambi in midfield.
I just don't believe this, man. We give these
You know
guys
what I
these
mean?
long-term deals, man, on ridiculous wages. Like, have you seen our wage bill, by the way? It's an absolute disgrace. Some of the
And we
players
got
that
8
are on.
players on 200 grand a week or something.
Yeah, yeah. It's something crazy. Like, and I think Kieran Tierney, Zinchenko, Tomiyasu. It's like, and there's some random ones like Martinelli's on nearly 200 a week. Gabriel was on like
Unbelievable.
100 a week. Like, it makes no
Oh,
sense, any of it. Like, Havertz is on 280. Jesus is on 265. Like, what are we doing here? Like, and when they leave their clubs, by the way, they were
yeah.
on pittance. Like Zinchenko at Man City was on 20k a week. He's now on like 150. You've got
Yeah.
Calafiori, I think, was on about 15k a week, and he's now on like over 100. Same as Marino, who come from Sociedad, who was on about 75 grand a week. He's now on 150 or something. Like, what have
Yeah.
they done to justify all this, like, this massive leap in wages? Like, we shouldn't be able to have to say, do you want to come Arsenal? Not really. We'll give you 300 grand. All right, I'm there. They should want to come to Arsenal without all that crap. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
that's how it used to work, man. It's mad. But let me do some of these supers before we do wrap up, mate. Vance says, play the Cult of Arteta song on stream. I did hear that the other day. That is actually quite a funny song. That was on Gunner's stream, I'm sure. It was Gunner who sent it to me. It is actually quite funny. It did make me laugh. War Eagle's not happy at all. He says, what does it take? A brand new manager winning the league, Tottenham winning a trophy. What else would it take to wake this stupid club up? Relegation? I'm tired of this. You're not alone, bruv. There's a lot of people
Yeah.
that are feeling this way. Trust me, you're not alone. Joe, big up to you, bruv. Arteta's won win anything too defensive, Dan and Curtis. Yeah. Well, I think he's got to let that go back to the style of like the 22-23 season where we were scintillating to watch. I think that's got to come back, particularly with these signings that hopefully come through the door. M. Roof says, just go get Gyökeres, get Rodrygo, and then Semenyo for cover. Simple as. Now's your time, Berta. You can't call ourselves a big club and then be going to the bargain bucket year in, year out. I totally agree with that, by the way. You know, and this is what will frustrate me, bruv. If we're in links with Rodrygo and Gyökeres and we end up with, let's say, Jamie Gittins and Sesko, I'm just not going to be excited, bruv.
Bro, I'm telling you, if that happens, we should be protesting. I'm not even exaggerating.
We should.
I'm not even exaggerating. If they, as a club, watch Tottenham lift a trophy, a European trophy, and you go and buy these little youngsters again and give us Project Youth for another year, you're a finished club in my eyes. I can't even look at them as a big club if they go down that route. You're just a project. You're a financial project if that's the case.
I agree. And I would want the ownership gone, man, if that happens. Like, let's be real. And, you know, Gyökeres, Rodrygo, Zubimendi, even like Harto and some of the other links, if they're coming in, I'm cool with them names. But if you start looking at players that, let's be real, you just absolutely know aren't going to be exciting. They're going to not deflate you, but they're going to be like underwhelming signings. I'll be frustrated.
Do you know the thing, Dan? 2 years ago, when we wanted Vlahovic, we couldn't get him. Like his agent was toying with us, ignoring the calls, all that joke and all that. Yeah, we couldn't get him. Arsenal can get Gyökeres. Like we know this. If Arsenal pay the 65 million, do whatever you need to do with his wages, 150, 200 grand, he would come to Arsenal. You just know he would. So if they don't sign a player like Gyökeres, it's because they don't want to sign him. And so that tells you everything, that there's no excuse anymore. They're just selling us short. Season tickets have gone up again. What is it, 5%, 6%?
Yeah.
The season tickets have gone up. £85 for the home shirt, 120 for the players version. Like, we're doing our job. And then people have a go at us when we criticize the club. They're literally bringing out 10, 15 training tops a season, free shirts every season. Season ticket prices are going up. I'll be honest, our stadium's not as good as it was. When
No.
you look at some of these new stadiums, it's not an amazing stadium to go to. I used to love going to Highbury as a little kid. I don't think the Emirates even that good a stadium, to be honest.
No.
Maybe it's because we haven't won the big trophies that we haven't got that deep emotional connection to it. And then when we sit there and go, okay, we've done all of our job, you do your job. They go and buy these little players that aren't going to win you anything, and you go. People go, why are you being negative? You know, the match day experience is better than it was under Wenger. Bro, I'm not going to the theatre. If I want to watch a show, I'll go and watch The Lion King at Christmas. Yeah. I want to watch Arsenal win trophies, bro. If you ain't winning trophies, something's going wrong. You know, even Merson said it, like you said on Sky, said, you know, when the grandkids come over, they go, Granddad, what did you win? I won this. Look at my medal. Now, you can't say I came second, third, fourth. The kids don't care about that, bro. I don't mean nothing.
No,
You
they
know what I
don't.
mean?
Or they
So
won't care that you beat Real Madrid 5-1. Do you know what I mean? Like,
they
let's be
don't care.
real. It's funny because, like, where I'm from is London clubs, but there's also border of Essex and Suffolk, and I know a few Ipswich Town fans, and they've got this huge rivalry with Norwich, and they always say, like, Norwich's reply all the time is, "We beat Bayern Munich once." Now we're starting to turn into Norwich. We beat Real Madrid 5-1. Like, come on, man. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what's
Don't
happening
forget
here?
that night at the Bernabeu, you know what I mean? We'll never
Yeah,
forget
like,
that, will
come
we?
on, man. Like, let's be real. Those nights at the Bernabeu should be every season. That shouldn't be a one-off in 30 years. That should be every year. We should be going to the Bernabeu and the Nou Camp and San Siro and beating them. Like, you know what I mean? So that's where I'm at, bro. But look, we're gonna wrap up, man. What you got coming up, bro? You got any shows, or are you done for the day, or you got weekend, or what's happening?
Yeah, no, I'll do the watch along Sunday, although I'm gonna do like a multi-screen thing, man. I'm probably watching Chelsea against Forest. I'll have Arsenal on the small screen because let's be honest, that's probably one of the least exciting games I've ever watched in my life as an Arsenal fan. The Aaron Ramsdale derby. We'll probably win 5-0, look like a dream, no pressure FC. And Arteta will be telling everyone, fear for your lives. Arteta said in the press conference, I don't talk about other teams when asked about Tottenham, even though 5 days earlier he was talking about Liverpool's points tally and how we would have won the league with our points tally of last season. So at this point, I don't know if he's delusional. I don't know if he's angry, but he's saying crazy things at the moment. PSG told me I deserve to win. Luis Enrique, no, we never said that. No, I don't talk about teams, but I spoke about Liverpool for 5 minutes. So I think he needs the end of the season as much as all the
He's
fans.
done, man. He's feeling the
He's
pressure
done.
now.
He needs a holiday.
Yeah, he does.
Some would say he needs his P45, but that's a whole other story. But yeah,
Honestly, man.
one more season, man.
Well, listen, make sure you go follow Curtis. Make sure you click on the link in the title. Go straight to it. Let's get him up to 100K. You're nearly there, bro, aren't you? Literally. So let's get him up to 100K, man. Come on, not far at all. Let's get that done. We're going to send you over to my boy Shane. Shane Gooner's chatting at the moment. So go and send some love to Shane. He's a legend. He says it how it is. So I'm sure you'll appreciate that. So go show him some love over there. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on this one. We're getting close to 42K. The next target is the big 5-0, people. So let's make sure we get there. And thanks for your super chats, comments, interactions. Go and spam the chat, Dan and Curtis Raid. And man, we'll see you next time. We're out of here. Laters.